Hello, beautiful friends. So today my video is about collaboration versus individualism and where on the spectrum do you fall? This is why I think this topic is so important, especially as real estate investors. I've noticed a shift in myself over the years on how I recognize and perceive these two ends of the spectrum. And even more importantly than my own perspective is I've noticed that people along the journey have shifted their mindset somewhat. And so I wanted to talk about this today, bring this topic to your awareness so you can find, okay, where do I fall in this? Is it serving me? And what might be the next step for you in your journey with your mindset? Now, let me start by saying I'm in Wyoming, and if anything is true about folks in Wyoming as a general statement, it is the idea of rugged individualism, the idea that pull yourself up by your bootstraps because nobody else is going to do it for you. Now, there is a history behind that because we're very much a cowboy state. You know, we literally still have 1,000-acre plus ranches. And if you don't watch celebrities, which I really don't, I just know about it because it becomes news in Wyoming. Lots of celebrities own ranches in Wyoming, up more in the north part from where I'm at. But rugged individualism is born out of the cowboy area where, you know, you are trying to make a life for yourself and for your family. The next person on the frontier may be hundreds of miles away and you've probably never met them. You might live most of your life only seeing a handful of people. So of course, rugged individualism took hold as a philosophy. It had to, otherwise people wouldn't persevere. They wouldn't be able to withstand the challenges of living on the frontier. But we're not on the frontier anymore. We call it the frontier, and yes, there's towns and really small towns, and you know your neighbor still might be, you know, miles and miles away. But the fact is that we are far more connected than we ever have been in the history of the world, no matter where you live. Even if you are in a remote part of Africa, chances are you probably have seen a computer at some time, and you probably have access to internet at least occasionally. We are more connected than ever. So this idea of rugged individualism as a necessary way of life, I think is outdated and actually starts to border on being unhelpful and holding people back. One of the ways that I think individualism continues to show up in our world is in school. Now, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this right now, but this is something, if you follow Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about this a lot, and it's really gotten me to start thinking about it. But one of the ways in which individualism is still running rampant is in school, in traditional school. You know, the learning environment traditionally has been very much an individual journey. You sit down at a desk, you're by yourself. When you're doing your homework, you're by yourself. You know, when you're needing to learn or to read, all of these things often are by yourselves. But what I've seen in the shift in our society at large with adults is this shift away from individual learning. In fact, this community learning, this idea that I don't know everything and I can actually learn from other people has really taken hold over this last 5 years. And the venue in which it's taken hold is through masterminds. So if you're at all in the space of business and entrepreneur, chances are you are, otherwise you probably don't watch these videos, you know that masterminds have just exploded. And for good reason. Because so much gold, so much socialized learning happens in a mastermind that you can't get anywhere else. It's incredible. So why is it then that our education system still largely uses individualism, individual learning as the, as like the creme de la creme of learning. I don't understand that. And so that's an example where in part of our society, we have shifted away from this super individualized learning, individualism, and we have started to see the value and the benefit of learning as a group. Now, individualism in business. I have definitely been there, done that, and really don't want to do it again. I built $1 million business, ran it for almost a decade, and I'll tell you, it was lonely and painful. Because as any business owner knows, there's a lot of challenges in business, especially when you are talking about employees and HR and all this other stuff. There is so much to manage, and virtually nobody in the business gets your position. They think, and if you're a business owner, you can raise your hand and say, yep, I get it. People think that if you are a business owner, you're greedy. You're making all this money and you're not giving back to the little person. That you're selfish and you're just out for yourself. They think you don't care about them and their position. They don't recognize, they don't think that you value them, that you're doing everything you can to make their position, their income, the most it can possibly be. Because if a business isn't profitable, it's not going to stay in business. As an owner, we know that. There has to be profit. Where there's no profit, there is no message that can get sustained. There's no mission that can get sustained. But employees don't get that. They don't understand that. Why would they? They haven't had the experiences. It's like like me trying to understand the experience of a fish. I can't. Yeah, I can go scuba diving, but that's still not understanding the experience of a day in the life of a fish. So, in some respect, it's not really the employee's fault that they're ignorant to what that experience is like, but it results in being a very frustrating and a very lonely journey. And the journey I had was lonely because I was doing it all by myself. I didn't have any partners. I didn't have a coach. I didn't bring people in to my sphere to support me and help me in that role. And what ended up happening is, I got frustrated, and, I will call it, eventually I got burnt out and be like, you know what? I'm done. This isn't worth it. This isn't worth having to put up with people's crap, to be continually misunderstood, and, all of the rest of the stuff that came with it. But the lesson I learned isn't to not be a business owner. That really wasn't the lesson. And listening to me right now, maybe you think, well, geez, she just sold a business and just got out from under it and won't do that again. Well, that's not the full picture either. I recognize what was lacking in large part was I didn't have people to support me. I didn't have any collaborators. I didn't have any folks that could come alongside, advise me in different ways, support me, be a crying shoulder, coach me in certain ways, help me grow. I was trying to do it all by myself. And, it's kind of, at the end of the day, it's kind of impossible. You can't do it all yourself. You are one person with 24 hours every day. And some of that time you got to eat and sleep, right? So it's impossible. It is impossible. But what I see happen to so many people is they get in this position where two things happen. They get in a position where they try to be the be all end all. They get burnout, or maybe, they don't call it burnout, but they lose their enthusiasm for what they've been doing. The passion is no longer there. But they don't reach out for help and support, and either they quit or they continue to do it. But what happens is they start to retreat. They start to retreat, especially emotionally, because they're hurt Nobody understands them, or at least that's the message they're letting themselves think. So they retreat emotionally, become more closed off, and because they're hurt. And what do hurt animals do? They kind of like slink off to the bush to protect themselves. We do the same thing. We do the same thing naturally. As we slink off, we try to protect ourselves. We try to become less seen. It's human nature to be protective. But what I've recognized in my own life is that reaction, if I try to be all end all, that individualism, that the reaction is to protect self, which has the effect of taking you further down the spectrum of individualism, and you become even more isolated with that perspective. Okay, I've got to do this all myself. What we tell ourselves is, see, I got hurt. Something went wrong. This is why I have to do it by myself. But that's the absolute wrong perspective. That's what I challenge you with today. Is I don't think that's the right perspective. I don't think that's the helpful perspective. This perspective that's going to help you grow, is going to help you reach your goals, is going to help you with real estate investing, with financial freedom, all of these things. That perspective of, see, I got hurt. This is why I need to definitely make sure that I do this all on my own. That perspective is going to limit you and get in your way 100%. 100%. I don't doubt that in one bit. Think about it. When shifting a minute, when a little kid is learning to walk, what do they do? What do they do? They try to walk, they fall down, right? When they're first walking, they pretty much fall down like every 3 seconds. They get bumps and bruises and scrapes and cuts. They cry. But do they stop trying? Do they then tell themselves, hey, this walking thing is really hard. I keep falling down, so clearly I need to just stop this because it's not working for me. No, of course they don't. It's silly. They continue to try and try and try until they get to the point where they succeed. Why are we different as adults? Why can't we take that same mentality and apply it to these other areas of our life? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but I'm not going to unpack them all. But the reality is that mindset of like, okay, this is to be expected. I am going to get hurt. I am going to misstep. I'm going to make mistakes. This is going to be painful. But that doesn't mean I stop. Even in relationship with other people. This video is about individualism versus collaboration. And so that's my argument why individualism is not the most valuable position to be in. But I understand why we do it. It's a self-protective mechanism. I've used it plenty of times, and I'm sure I still find myself every day something going wrong and me thinking, look, I should have just done it myself. We've all had that thought. But that's not what's going to get you where you want to go unless you're fine just being complacent and not contributing in this world at the highest level possible. So collaboration, the way that I look at it is as you start to recognize the areas that you're deficient, that you're not very good at, that you're really struggling at, you find different people to come and fill in those gaps. Now, of course, collaboration looks differently over the course of your business, over the course of real estate investing, because as you grow, your need for competent help also grows. But what might be, thinking about your life right now, what might be one way or one thing that you need help with, that you need to collaborate with somebody on? Now, in thinking about collaboration, I don't see collaboration as a position where you just give up control and let somebody else do it for you. In fact, I think collaboration requires you to maintain a sense of, I wouldn't call it control, but maintain a sense of awareness. But you are actively engaging. So it's not just sit back and let somebody else do it all or control your life or anything like that. It's inviting people actively into your own life while you remain active in guiding your life. So it's a pretty active position. I would challenge you. What I have seen, I have counseled, therapized. I just created a new word. Coached hundreds, and I'm quite sure thousands of people over the last 15 years. And what I have seen is the folks that stay in the individual mindset have maintained very limited lives. Okay, now again, let me just clarify. If that's you and you want to be there, by all means, go for it. That's totally fine. You get to make that decision. This is not a judgment. This is a commentary of what I've noticed, a correlation. I would venture to say a causation, but at the very least, let's call it a correlation. But as people really try to push forward in the world, really try to do bigger things, try to give the greatest contribution that they possibly can to the world out of a sense of obligation, responsibility, duty, stewardship, excitement, passion, all of those things rolled up, there tends to be an increase in the mindset around collaboration. So the folks that you know in your circle who are on the end of individualism, or let's do this, the folks that you know that are living a smaller life than what you want, ask them some questions about how much they value individualism and being able to do everything themselves and have that complete control versus how much do they value collaboration and teamwork and, having a circle of people around them. And then ask business owners, ask real estate investors, how much do they value individualism and doing it all themselves and, keeping a tight lid on who's in their life and versus that collaboration. I will bet if you ask 5 to 10 people on each end of the spectrum, you also will start to see the correlation. It's really, really striking. So in real estate investing, understanding that there is a collaboration necessary for you to really get the momentum, the success that you're looking for is important. So what does that look like then? Let's get down to brass tacks. What does that look like for real estate investing? Now, everybody's on their own journey, on their own type of real estate investing. But let me just let me just share with you a few ways in which I've experienced the need for collaboration in real estate investing. First of all, having somebody that can help you find deals is really important. If you are a full-time real estate investor, and as an example, if you're a full-time real estate investor and every morning, as soon as you get up, you're looking online, looking through the MLS, looking through CoStar, LoopNet, trying to find all the new properties that came on the market, you may not be in quite as much of a need for somebody to help you find the deals. But if you have another job and you don't have the hours to spend combing the internet for properties, you need a realtor to collaborate with you so that they can pass the deals along to you, because they're doing their job well. They're in this every day and they're able to pass on information and deals. And even if you are a full-time investor and you have time to look at the deals, how are you going to know what is reasonable and common in your market? How are you going to know what kind of rents a residential property could have? How are you going to know what kind of offer is reasonable in this market, whatever time frame that is? So a realtor really is a critical part of your collaborative team. They provide information and a service that is critical. How about another one? One of the most critical relationships that my husband and I have had with, on our investor journey is with banks. Because we have had, I will tell you, it's frustrating. Somebody asked me the other day about banks and, which banks have we used and what does that look like? Because I made the comment, I'm like, yeah, we have probably, 8 to 10 different financial institutions that we have worked with over the years. And they're like, well, why that many? Why don't you just stick with one? And so as I was reflecting back to them why that was the case, it was because they weren't good collaborators on my team, and I needed them to be. As an example, we had a local credit union that we bought our first 2 investment properties with. We went back to them for our third, and they're like, actually we stopped doing investment loans. We're just doing personal home loans, and that's it, and auto loans and stuff like that. They stopped doing that type of loan entirely. So that required us to have to shift to another bank. And we've shifted from bank to bank to bank when that bank has stopped being what we need them to be. I mean, I'm not going to stay limited by a bank. Like, that's ridiculous. I know what I want, and I know where we're going. And so you just keep on asking the right questions, and eventually somebody says yes. So now that we've got a bank that has been so incredibly helpful because they have given us a way to be able to move forward on properties quickly, to be able to provide terms that are desirable for the seller. It's been incredible. This is the best collaborative relationship we've had so far because we have a lot of freedom in what we're able to do. So that is an important piece of our journey. If we didn't have this relationship, this collaborative relationship set up this year, there's probably, 6 properties that we wouldn't have been able to buy because it would have taken too long. It would have, there's just so many different things that would have gotten in the way that we would have lost out on that opportunity. So the lender, a bank, some way of getting money if you need money is really important. And it might be a hard money lender. It could be a private investor. If you've got a friend who's got a 401k that they can self-direct and loan you from, that's perfect. Lots of different ways. But those are 2 really, really important people to bring into your life. And I would suggest a third. I would say there's probably like 25,000 different collaboration opportunities, different kinds of people that are going to benefit you. But the third is a coach. The reason I say this is because your blind spots are your blind spots. And they're blind, like you're blind to them. And unless you have an outside perspective helping you see why you're hitting the wall in certain areas or why you're not able to achieve some of the goals you're wanting to achieve, unless you have that outside perspective that's unbiased, they're not saying it or doing something in your life because of their own outcome. That's the unbiased part. Like if you have your best friend or, another local investor coaching you, they might have their own self-interest at heart. But a true coach who doesn't have a vested interest in your life is the perfect person to tell you like it is. And I will tell you, I have had my own coach routinely for the last 2 years, almost 2 years. And it's been a game changer. I actually have multiple coaches. I've got about 3 that I've got a high performance coach, and they have helped me evaluate my mindsets, where I get stuck, how I view myself, and when I view myself in a way that's not helpful, is not acknowledging my, the parts of me that are helpful to the world, that can provide contribution. I've had a real estate coach that helps me stay accountable to what I'm doing and my goals and all the little stuff that goes along with that. Because we have goals, we've got big goals, and I'm sure you've got big goals too. But sometimes they get so big that you let a week go by without taking small actionable steps towards your goal, and then you're like, oh, I'm horrible, this is never gonna work. You start getting down on yourself, you start getting pessimistic because you're not doing the work that needs to happen. And, even just a couple weeks ago, when I met with my coach, I was like, oh, I'm so frustrated. There's this thing, this part of my real estate that I'm just struggling to implement every week. And, I time blocked it off, but it just that wasn't working. And of course, the answer was simple. It's nothing I didn't know. But because I was in it, frustrated, I can't see the simple solutions sometimes. And through a series of questions, I had the clarity of oh yeah, I probably don't need a 3 to 4 hour time block to do this stuff, because that's the problem. It would be such a big time block that other stuff, urgent stuff, would inevitably creep into the day. And I'm like, oh, I got to take care of that. And if I'm an hour into my time block and I haven't done it yet, haven't done what I was supposed to be doing during that time block, then I kind of would think oh, well, today's screwed. And then I would just do other things. So the solution, the simple solution, the obvious solution, well, maybe it wasn't obvious to me at the time, but the solution was do smaller time blocks. How about an hour? How about just start with an hour on the days that I originally planned? And if I can manage an hour and keep that hour sacred, then I can start to expand it over time. But just start small. Just start small. A simple solution. I did not come up with that on my own because I was stuck in my own frustration. It took me talking out loud to a coach and then providing a little feedback for me to come to that epiphany. And that epiphany changes everything because it keeps me moving diligently towards my goals and towards my dreams. So a coach is hugely important. I can't stress enough. So the 3 people as a real estate investor that I would say are critical on your collaborative team to start with is a realtor, broker, that can help you find the deals, help you get together the deals, make offers, and that sort of thing. 2 is the lender, whatever that looks like. If you've got a lender that is telling you no a lot, find a new lender. They are out there, and they're not all created equal. Promise you. And then 3 is a coach, maybe a mentor, but a coach or a mentor, because you need outside perspective, somebody that can help you notice and realize what parts of your mind are not serving you and are actually getting in the way. Now, there's a whole slew of other collaborative folks, such as joining a RIA and having mentorship. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Your friends, other investors that can help pass on deals to you, like wholesalers or other types of investors that do investing differently than you. They might come across a deal and be like, this doesn't really fit my profile of what's ideal, so I want to, offload it. And so then they give it to you, or they sell it to you, wholesale it to you, but maybe they're not a wholesaler, but they come across stuff they won't do or don't need. So these are all reasons to not be an individual as an investor. I plead you, really think about this. If you have questions, if you have your own mindset, your own objections are getting in the way of, as you're listening to this, write them down. Shoot me a message. I'd be happy to talk through some of these things with you. Because as a real estate investor and a coach myself, these are exactly some of the things that I help other people tackle. I get it. We come to any job, any business, any role that we do in life, we come to it with baggage. It is inevitable. We are humans. We are flawed. Sorry to break it to you. We're so imperfect and so flawed. So having somebody else that you trust that can help you navigate those and help you course correct is invaluable. All right, this was a really, really long video, much longer than my usual. But boy, sometimes you get me going on some of these topics, and it's just hard to stop because I have such a strong perspective and opinion on some of these things. So whatever part of this video you watched, I hope it served you and helped you think about individualism versus collaboration just a little bit differently. I would love to hear your comments below, or if you want to comment below. Also, I'm going to be posting this in my YouTube on my YouTube channel, and so I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am trying to reach more investors, more people that can benefit from the content and the information that I'm sharing as a coach and as an investor myself. So have a fantastic day.